If you are driving alone past midnight and your rear bumper starts rattling, never stop to look. It was 3:15 a.m. on Route 9. The highway was pitch black, squeezed tight by dense pine trees. I was rushing home, exhausted, counting down the remaining miles. Suddenly, a heavy metal thump echoed from the back of my car. I flinched, glancing in the rear-view mirror. Nothing, just empty darkness. I hit the gas, but 5 seconds later, the thumping returned, louder, heavier, rhythmic, like a frantic heartbeat. My skin prickled with cold sweat as my eyes swept the road ahead. Then I noticed something truly horrifying right behind me. A pitch-black sedan was tailgating my vehicle, running completely without headlights. Before I could react, the dark car accelerated, ramming my back bumper with brutal force. My steering wheel twisted violently. I screamed, fighting for control, as my tyres shrieked. I glanced in my mirror again, and my blood turned to ice. The driver had his pale face pressed flat against his windshield, grinning wildly at me. His eyes were hollow, reflecting the cold red light of my tail lamps like a predator hunting in the dark. I floored the accelerator, the engine screaming as my tyres fought for traction on the slick frozen asphalt. But his dark sedan didn't drop back. It surged forward again, smashing into my trunk with a deafening metallic crunch. The sudden impact shattered my rear windshield, showering the back seat with razor-sharp glass. I gasped, ducking down as fragments flew past my ears. Through the broken frame, the freezing night air whipped into the cabin, bringing with it the horrifying smell of burning rubber and rotten iron. He slammed his car into me again, actively pushing my vehicle sideways toward the steep mountain embankment. My headlights swept across the dark pines, illuminating a vertical drop-off that meant certain death. I fought the steering wheel, my knuckles turning white as cold sweat dripped into my eyes. Then, the black car pulled up right alongside me. I turned my head, paralyzed with fear. The driver wasn't alone. In the passenger seat sat a shadowy figure, holding up a glowing smartphone. The screen was facing me, displaying a real-time live video feed. My stomach plummeted through the floorboards. The video showed the inside of my own trunk, and something wrapped in heavy canvas was violently squirming and clawing from inside my vehicle. Before I could even scream, the black sedan sideswiped me with brutal force, sending my front tyres skidding right over the edge. The tyres screeched in agony, burning rubber as my front bumper hovered over the pitch-black abyss. Panic slammed through my veins. I threw the gear stick into reverse and floored the accelerator, my heart hammering violently against my ribs like a trapped bird. The engine roared, tyres spitting loose gravel until the rubber finally caught asphalt, yanked the car back onto the narrow mountain road, and barely saved me from a fatal plummet. But there was zero time to breathe. The black sedan was sitting 100 feet ahead, idling sideways to block the entire road. Its dark windows were tinted pitch black, but its rear brake lights glowed like red, bloodthirsty eyes in the thick mist. I reached frantically for my phone on the dashboard to call emergency services, but the screen flashed no signal, completely dead. Suddenly, a deafening bang rattled the frame of my car from behind. It was coming from the trunk again, followed by a muffled wet scraping sound right behind my head. Someone, or something, was trying to force its way through the rear seats into the cabin. My throat went completely dry. I looked back up at the road just in time to see the driver's door of the black sedan swing wide open. A tall figure stepped out into the freezing fog, holding a heavy steel crowbar that scraped against the cold pavement with a piercing metallic screech. As he began walking toward my car with deliberate, agonizingly slow steps, my vehicle's interior lights suddenly flickered on by themselves, illuminating a fresh bloody handprint smeared across the inside of my backseat window. The bloody handprint slid down the interior glass as something clawed violently against the backseat cushions, desperately pushing to break through from inside the trunk. Up ahead, the tall figure carrying the steel crowbar accelerated his pace, his heavy boots crunching loudly against the frozen gravel. I slammed the gear stick into drive and gripped the wheel with every single ounce of strength left in my trembling body. I floored the gas pedal, the engine roaring in protest as my car lurched forward directly toward the man. He didn't flinch or step back until the final split second, dodging sideways and swinging the heavy iron bar with terrifying precision. Crack! The driver's side window exploded into a million sharp needles, spraying shattered glass across my face and arms. Freezing mountain wind surged into the cabin, carrying a horrific raspy whisper right against my ear. "Stop the car!" I screamed, ducking low and swerving past his idling sedan, barely scraping by its rear bumper. I sped down the narrow highway, tears blinding my eyes as I checked the mirror. The black car instantly flipped its high beams on, illuminating my interior in harsh light as it gave chase. But the true nightmare was inside my vehicle. The rear seat cushions suddenly collapsed forward with a sickening tear. A cold, trembling hand reached out from the dark void, its blood-soaked fingers wrapping tightly around my neck. The icy, blood-stained fingers crushed my windpipe, cutting off my oxygen. My lungs burned as I gasped for air, my vision turning red at the edges while my car swerved wildly across the empty highway. In the mirror, the black sedan was inches from my bumper, its blinding high beams illuminating the horror in my back seat. A terrified, pale face was emerging from the dark trunk. It was a young woman, bruised and shivering in terror. "Drive! Don't stop!" she choked out, her hand falling from my neck as she realised I was the driver, not her captor. The man with the crowbar was chasing her, and she had crawled into my trunk at a rest stop to hide before I drove off. Before I could process the truth, the black sedan slammed into my rear quarter panel, spinning my car into a violent drift. Tyres screamed against wet pavement, burning rubber filling the cabin as I fought the steering wheel. The dark sedan pulled right alongside us, the passenger window rolling down to reveal the man holding a pistol pointed at my head. "Pull over, or I end you both!" he bellowed. The girl screamed, cowering beneath the ruined seats. I looked at my speedometer, 90 miles per hour, and then at the road ahead. Just ahead, the narrow mountain route tightened into a lethal curve, surrounded by solid granite walls on one side and a sheer cliff on the other. A desperate idea flashed through my mind. I jammed my foot down on the gas, faking a frantic attempt to outrun him. The gunman sneered, his driver accelerating to match my speed so he could take a clean shot. We sped side by side toward the razor-sharp turn at terrifying velocity. Exactly 50 feet before the curve, I slammed both feet onto the brake and yanked the emergency lever. My car shrieked, locked its wheels, and slid backward in a cloud of smoke. The black sedan couldn't react in time. Its tyres lost traction, sailing straight past us over the ledge into the dark canyon below, culminating in a violent explosion that echoed through the mountains. Silence fell over the road, broken only by my panting breath and the girl's quiet sobbing. I kept driving until sunrise, finally pulling into a police station in the next town. We were safe. The nightmare was over. But as officers helped the girl, my phone lit up with an unknown text. I opened it with shaking hands. It was a photo of me taken 10 seconds ago from across the street, accompanied by 3 words. "He wasn't alone."